Welcome to Mindful Makerspace Challenge. My name is Mrs. Nance. Before we start our activity today, let's go ahead and take a mindful breath. 2 big breaths, breathing through the nose and then out through the mouth. Pick your favorite flower. Today I'm going to pick the daffodil. And I'm going to breathe in through my nose, smelling my daffodil, and then blowing out through my mouth like I'm blowing out a tiny candle. I'll be inviting the mindful bell 4 times. 2 to breathe in, 2 to breathe out. You have your favorite flower? Here we go. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. The breath is so important. People use the breath for many things. Sometimes it's just to focus and be calm and ready to learn, like we're using the bell here. Many times people use the breath because they're upset or scared. And when they take the breath, it calms them down. They can refocus and have some really good thoughts. Sometimes people use the breath because they're really hyper and they need to calm down or they might get in trouble. So the breath puts oxygen in our brain, gives us really good thoughts. We make really good choices. So I hope you are focused and ready for this Mindful Makerspace Challenge. Please feel free to share your celebrations, answers to the questions I asked you, or if you have any questions, email me. And my email is right on the classroom website. Happy learning! Now that you've mastered the slip knot and chaining, let's go ahead and learn how to crochet. I have my 5.0 crochet hook with my fun yarn that changes colors. And I'm going to show you how to do a slip knot with your fingers instead of laying it on the table. So I'm going to do the circle and then place that line from the yarn underneath my circle, and then do that over, under, over. And when you pull the tail and the yarn, you have a slip knot. I'm going to be going a little bit faster since you already know how to chain. I'm going to set my fingers up, making sure that I have the tail and that knot underneath my crochet hook. I'm going to place my yarn around my bunny fingers and keep it kind of loose. And we're going to go and pull that yarn through, and we're going to do a small chain. 2, 3, 4, 5, keeping everything right, nice and loose, putting my thumb up each time. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to go 11 because I want my crochet to actually be 10 wide, but I must do 11 stitches to make that happen. I'm going to make this loop a little larger so I can show you what I'm doing. We'll be putting that back. I just want to demonstrate what we have here. We have our slip knot at the end, and when you're looking at your chain, you have loops at the top and you have loops at the bottom. We're only concerned with the loops at the top. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 loops because this is the 11th that I've done. And anytime you crochet, once you finish a row, you always do 1 extra so the sides are nice and straight when they go up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to work with the top loops of this chain. I'll have to share that this is probably the hardest part of crochet, so it's really not hard at all. But if you can get this, the rest is really easy. I'm going to put my crochet hook back in. I just took it out so you could see the chain and see those loops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my hook in that first loop. I have 2 loops on, the one that I ended with and the new one on the chain. Whenever I place the yarn and catch it, that's called a yarn over. So I'm going to yarn over one, and I'm only going to pull it through that first loop. Then I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to pull through both loops. Notice my thumb is holding everything secure. Now I'm going to go to the next loop right here. Here's the second one. I'm going to do a yarn over, pull it through that loop, making sure my thumb is holding everything secure. I'm now going to yarn over and pull it through both loops. I'm going to look for the next loop on my chain, yarn over, pull it through the loop. What am I going to do next? Yarn over and pull it through both loops. Notice how loose I'm keeping the loops. If this is too tight, it's going to be hard to get the crochet hook in. What's my next step? I'm going to find my next loop at the top, yarn over, pull through just one loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops. See how that's doing? Yep. So now what's going to go? We're going to find the next loop in my chain at the top. The only thing you have to worry about is making sure you find the loops at the top and you're not going the loops at the bottom of your chain. Next loop, yarn over, pull through that first loop, pull through both loops. Go through the next top loop of that chain, yarn over, pull through both. Nice and loose. Okay, let's see, looks like we have 1, 2, 3 left. Go to the next chain, pull through, loosen up my ball, so it's going to give me some slack, and I'm going to pull through both loops. It's curling some because this is a really short piece. 2 more. Go through the next loop, yarn over, pull through that one loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Last one, right there. Yarn over and pull, yarn over, pull through both. Okay. You're not going to take out your hook. I'm going to take mine out. It looks like I went through partial. Sometimes you'll get inside of the yarn. We don't want that. We want to make sure we always have full yarn. So I'm going to do that last one again. Pull it through. Pull it through both. I'm going to take my hook out because I want you to see what we've done. And I want it out of the way. Okay, it's building up. What you do now is, because you're at the end, you're going to do one extra. We're not going to loop in, we're just going to do one chain. So I'm going to put my crochet hook back, and just like you're making a chain, just do one chain right there. Now turn your chain around so the tail is on your side over here at the bottom. You know you're at the bottom because you started, let's move this out of the way. You started here, and then you went all the way down. So now we did 10 with an extra loop for 11. That chain is now 11. So now what we're going to do is, let's look at this really close. If I turn my chain sideways so you can see it, I call these hearts. You see there's a heart right there, a heart right here. They're actually two loops that are sitting together. You see them? Instead of going through one loop, we're going to go through that heart. So let's try it. I'll put my crochet hook back. Make sure I have control. And I'm going to look for that first heart. There it is. I'm going to go through all the way across. 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and then, just like we did before, pull through those. Next heart, there it is. All the way across that heart. I'm going to pull through the heart and pull through both. Be sure to keep your stitches nice and loose. This is crochet, is going through those hearts. This is a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through the heart, yarn over, pull through both loops. Next, sitting right there, yarn over, pull, yarn over, pull through both. Next set, right there. See those 2 loops? Pull through both. The next 2 loops that look like a heart are sitting right there. Pull through those, pull through your 2 loops. Next set, ooh, perfect. Right there through that heart, those 2 loops. Pull through both. Right there. 2 loops that are sitting together that looks like a heart. Pull through them. And then pull through the 2 loops that are sitting on your crochet hook. Here's the next one right there. Pull through both. Looks like you've got one more right at the end. Might be kind of tight. There. Pull through both. Does anybody remember what you do when you go to the end? You're going to do 1 extra chain. You're going to turn it around, go to its building. And you go back and do the same thing. You're going to look, it's darker, so it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to look for those next 2 hearts. Put your crochet hook through, pull, and then do both. Next one is sitting right there. So you just repeat this as long as you want. And sometimes you want to go back and count to make sure you still have 10. If you find that you have less or more, then you've either skipped something or you put 2 stitches in the same one. Let's find that heart. Do you see the heart sitting right there? Go through both, pull it through, pull through both loops. Let's look for that heart again. Right there, those 2 loops sitting right beside each other. Pull through both. The next one, it's a dark green heart. Pull through both. There's a light green heart right there. Put both loops, pull through both. Last one, see it right there? 2 loops sitting together. Pull that through, pull through both. What do we do next? 1 extra. Turn it over. Tail always stays at the bottom. Always. Anytime you're crocheting, if you know you're doing it in the right, the top, the tail is at the bottom, and you're just going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And this will be something tiny because I wanted to make it short so you could see how to go through. The first one is you make a chain, then you're going to go the top loop of the chain, and then always put an extra chain at the bottom at each side, and then crochet back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so I worked on the project and I did several rows of 10. Notice it's nice and straight on the sides. If it wasn't very straight, that can mean several things. One, I wasn't consistent with the 10. I wasn't consistent in adding that chain, that 11th chain each time I turned. Could be I added too many stitches if it looks a little bulky, or if I was too tight with my crochet. So what we're going to talk about now is that this is called a variegated yarn, which means it has multicolors within one skein. This is a skein of yarn, and it too is variegated. A skein of yarn usually has a free pattern. This one has an Afghan pattern. If I opened up this tag, and the inside would have a pattern for this Afghan. It's really important to see what's going on with the label. This will give you the color name, I love camo. And if I was making something really big and I needed a lot of this and ran out, I would just have to find out and look up these numbers right here with the 103/I love camo, and I could get some that would match. Also, it will tell you how many yards. There's 252 yards in here. And depending on if you are knitting or crocheting, it's going to tell you what the best crochet hook or best needle to use. Here it's saying use a 5.5 mm crochet hook to use on this yarn. We're using a 5.0 on our variegated yarn that we're using now. Also, when you're searching for different items in the yarn aisle, sometimes they'll have some free patterns for you that are hanging up by the yarn. Some of them is a single sheet, some of them are more than one. This one I pulled and it was like a little brochure, and it's usually from the yarn company. You can tell they're all hanging at the top, and you just kind of tear off one. It'll tell you all kinds of things inside, different types of projects that you can use. It'll tell you if it's hard or if it's easy on these projects. It'll give you all kinds of directions. Sometimes there's drawings. On the back of this particular one is a beginner, and it's showing that they're going to show you how to make this hat. It'll give you abbreviations so you'll understand how to read the instructions. It'll give you the materials that you need. How many skeins do you need? What crochet hook do you need? They're asking for a size N. That means it's a pretty large hook. It's pretty bulky yarn they're going to use. And then it's going to show you the instructions. Chain 30. On our project here, we chain 10. So you would have to do triple that. Also, you can buy little books. This one's called One Skein or Less Projects, and it has really fun things in here that you can do to make things. Pencil holders, slippers. This one has what's called a coffee cuff. It's kind of what we're going to do today. I didn't use this pattern. They're actually going to go around in the pattern, and then they're going to crochet up. We crocheted this direction and crocheted around. It'll tell you how many skeins, how many colors to do this particular project. It'll tell you the gauge information, instructions, chain 31. So you already know how to do that. Row 1 says single crochet. That's what we've been doing. Single crochet in second chain from hook on an each chain across for 30 single crochets. You just did that with this. You did single crochets 10 across and then 10 back, 10 across, 10 back. They're asking you to do it 30 because you've already put 31 in a row for this particular coffee cuff. All right, today I'm going to show you how to end a project. And remember, there's also online videos, online patterns, organizations that you can belong to if you love to crochet. Now here we ended and I took the hook out and we have a loop left. So just like we did the chain, we need to close that. If we don't, all of this will come out. So I'm going to leave a small tail. I'm going to take the tail and put it inside that loop. Gently pull. And now I have a tail at the very end and my first tail down here. Now we need to hide the tails. Now I don't ever want to cut a tail really close. If I do, it's going to unravel all of my work. So instead, you're going to take a yarn needle. Some of them are plastic, some of them are metal. They're not very sharp. They're just really strong with a really large eye, so you can put yarn in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the needle and we're going to sew the needle through your pattern. Just go back and forth with nothing on it. And keep the eye of the needle close to your last tail. Now take the tail and bend it and press it between your fingers. And then press that loop that you made through the eye of the needle. Make sure you grab everything. So now I have threaded the needle with the yarn while the needle is already inside of my project. Now I'm going to very gently pull the needle, which will pull my yarn through. Now I don't want to go too tight, so I'm going to hold this until the needle comes out. Now I may cut this really close. We have hidden the tail in the project. So let's do that again. I'm going to put the eye of the needle close to the tail. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to sew it inside of my project, back and forth. I'm going to thread the eye of my needle by taking the end, making a loop, placing that loop between my finger and thumb, and pushing that loop inside the eye of my needle, catching it, leaving it so it has a tiny tail, and then I'm going to take my needle and gently pull that loop inside my project. Then I'm just going to pull the loop until the tail comes out, not pulling the needle or it's going to make this too tight. I'll pull this back some, make sure it looks good. Now I can cut close. Now we're going to take this and we're going to connect it so we have a cuff, a sleeve. And it's going to go around my favorite water bottle. So I need to make it big enough to go over the top and then sit here so my hand can hold it. So it's going to, when I'm finished, it's going to be right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to take a really big piece. I'm going to cut a long piece and we're going to sew that together. So I'm going to take my yarn, put it into a loop, take my needle, press the yarn inside of that large eye. Okay,
Now I'm going to put the two pieces together. Take my yarn needle. I'm going to go through the first loop, pull, and I'm just going to leave a little tail because we're going to hide this too. So I'm going to go down inside the cuff. I'm going to pull, watching that end. I'm going to pull until the cuffs comes together. Okay? Now I'm just going to sew these together using that yarn needle. So I'm going to go in one side of the project, gently pull it, scoot down a little bit. This is one way. There's several ways of connecting a project. You could connect it by crocheting it together. This is kind of fun, sewing with yarn. It has a really neat design. I'm going to have this fun purple stripes on the end. Keep going all the way to the end. And then we're going to hide our tails. Or if you're worried it might fall apart, we'll probably knot it. Gotta be careful, if it's really long, it might knot on us. There. Now we put them together. So we could just make a knot at the end, making sure that they're nice and close together. I can go back inside of that loop right there, and when I make this loop, you can tell it's going to make a knot. Let's do another one here. And when I have that loop sitting here, I'm going to put my needle through that loop and it's going to knot. Now I'm going to hide my tail in my project by moving my needle through the project, and I'm going to end inside. Pull it through. Stretch it some, and now I can cut. So now I just have to hide the beginning tail of the project. So I'm going to put the yarn through the eye of the needle, probably make a knot here, and then going back through that little loop. Pull tight. Let's hide the yarn inside of my project by pushing my needle through. Pull it gently and then pull so you can get the tail with your fingers. Don't pull it through the needle or you may have to undo that. Stretch it some, cut nice and close, and now we have our cuff. So I'm going to put it on my water bottle, and the nice thing about this yarn, it stretches some, so it's going to go around my water bottle at the top. There we go. I now have a crocheted handle to hold my water bottle. Happy learning.